time I was sitting out on the lakefront here in Chicago, I saw a plane flying across Lake Michigan, and I just said, I wonder where those people are going. And I had a brilliant idea. You know, the idea was that every plane that takes off, it actually has a predetermined route on how it's going to get to where it's going to go. But how many of us actually have flight plans for our lives? Or do we just live on default? We just live, you know, whatever happens, happens.
You got that right. You're sitting up there wondering where the people going, and God is asking you, and not only asking you, but telling you, God's like, where you going? When you find out where you're going, will you please go hook everybody else up with some new cheese so they can figure out where they're going also? We are looking at these planes leaving and landing. Where we going?
Exactly, and that's the key. Where are you going? And so that's what the New Cheese Challenge is really all. It's all designed to ask you those questions, get you to think about it. And if you don't know the answers to those questions, we're here to help.
The thing that I thought that was so essential was your book is really educating people on how to be an entrepreneur. And I say that to say this, is that I went to college and I've taken a variety of classes on a variety of things. I also majored in African American studies and educational psychology. But one of the things is that it never taught me in terms of thinking as an entrepreneur. And that's one of the big things that I see that your book is highlighting is alerting people about the cheese concept, but in terms of you going after that concept, it's more efficient for you to go after it as an entrepreneur than it is as, for example, an employee.
That's right. That's one of the things that we talk about in terms of being an advantage of the new cheese economy. I talk about the role of education in the new cheese economy. The role of education now is not so much of getting a degree so that you can go and line up on the auction block and see which master of, you know, be at the highest wage for you. But the real goal of education now is to take that information that you get, position yourself as an expert, as a go-to person, and solve real problems. When you are able to solve problems, and here's the deal, Angelique, the world is full of problems right now. I'm sure we'll all agree with that.
There's problems in my house. I don't even got to go outside to get the word. I don't got to turn on the news or nothing if I want to dissect the problem.
Exactly. So here's the deal. Where there's a problem, there's also an opportunity. Yeah. So if we focus on solutions to those problems, guess what? The same problem you have in your house, 10 million other people have the same problem. So if you can come up with a solution to solve your problem, then you probably can be a millionaire. You're probably sitting on a pot of gold right there with just your one idea to solve your personal problem. In fact,
you know what? Yeah, no, go ahead.
The studies have shown throughout history in the world of, laissez-faire or free market economies that it's your own selfish motive that usually benefits the entire world.
And, you know, that's a really interesting point because as you talked about earlier, the characters in terms of Who Moved My Cheese, and you was dealing with the little people. Can't remember if it was him or her, but one of them was very proactive in terms of saying, you know what we have going on, it's not working. We've got to move forward. But then the other character, he was still so caught up in being mad and feeling like, you know, the maize owed him some cheese that he was stuck.
Right.
You know, and... Yeah, you know, and it's just like Les Brown said, to go back, you know, you can sit back and wait, but what's going on in life, you're going to end up getting what's left over by those who hustle. So you really have to, you know, attempt to move yourself forward and keep up with the cheese. And one of the things that the book was talking about also in terms of, you know, some of us are waiting for somebody to give us some cheese. Some of us better go in the lab and look into ourselves and create our own cheese.
That's right. I mean, and as you just talked about, you know, Hall was the one who realized things change. I got to move on because if I don't change with the times, I'm going to become extinct. I'm going to die from starvation because I'm not eating. And, you know, it's funny how one of the things that really strike me to the core is like the character him who wanted to sit there and just got angry because the cheese had moved. And he complained, but he was not compelled to move to go find something. And so many people complain about their lot in life. They complain about the jobs that they hate to go to. They complain about the people that they have to work with, but they're not even open to the idea to take a look at something different because what they're doing doesn't work, but they're not motivated enough to try something new.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate and sad, but some of us are in situations where we have those people who may be upon us, because that was another thing that was highlighted in the book, you know, and it's like if you're trying to move forward in your life and you're around people who don't have your same vision, unfortunately, in some cases, you really do have to separate and move yourself forward because they can't save you. You better save yourself. Because the characters in, you know, the last character, the way the original book ended, you know, it talked about how we don't know if he moved or not.
Right.
Remember how it was? We don't know if he moved or not. He was still back there mad, talking about he's hungry and all that. And the other character, he pretty much was like, well, I'm going to go find me some new cheese. So, you know, a lot of this is at our discretion in terms of how we attempt to move our life forward. The government can do all these things. They can create jobs. They can make sure that in terms of black folks specifically, that we have access to equal education and information just like everybody else. But we still have to do our part and move ourselves forward. And so I think that your book is awesome. I'll be reading it again probably before the year closes out in case I happen to forget what's going on with my cheese. It'll remind me to go find it or recreate it because it is available, but you gotta do it. But I know we getting ready to close this breakout and you're about to go ta-ta. Please again, share with listeners where your book is available, what the new cheese is, why it's important for listeners to get up on some new cheese, especially if the cheese you're currently working with got moved, as well as that cheese challenge. I think it is great, that cheese challenge.
Absolutely. I mean, and this is what people have to understand, that the cheese not only is moving, it has moved, and guess what? It's not coming back. This is the time you got to create your own cheese. We're going to help you to do that. Log on to www.thenewcheese.com, www.thenewcheese.com. Get the new cheese, take the new cheese challenge.
Okay, the new cheese challenge is free. Theo, thank you so much for hanging out with me. You got to come visit me again in the studio before this year wraps up. Much success with the book.